Ashley Ackernecht has been searching for answers for more than half of her life. 16 years ago, when she was only 8, she saw her mother, Kellisue, for the last time. So, tell everyone your name and what brings you here to the evidence room.
Well, my name is Ashley Ackernecht. I'm the daughter of Kellisue Ackernecht. Basically here to kind of, say that my mom is still missing and I'm still looking for answers.
Yeah, absolutely. So, tell us a little bit about your mom. Tell us about Kellisue.
Well, from what I've been told, what I can remember, my mom was a very hardworking person. She was a very loving person, caring person. I was so young, so I was only 8, 25 now. So it's really hard to kind of put her into my own words besides what I've been told. Yeah. I can remember doing stuff together, but it's very
fuzzy.
Yeah, fuzzy.
So how has that been for you, just that piece in itself? I'm sure you've struggled kind of internally to come to grips with that memory.
Oh, it's been very difficult. There's so many people in my life who have, been here and gone and came and gone, and, it's really hard to find out who I trust, who I don't trust in a situation like this. It makes it just difficult to, kind of, get a grasp on, who my mom was as a person.
Yeah, and I can imagine going through, you said you were 8 when your mom went missing, going through your teenage years and kind of becoming a woman without her. I can imagine.
Yes, definitely all the whole, turning into a woman and wanting your mom, and, definitely those were, it was definitely hard, but I had my grandma, so I'm grateful that's my dad's mom. So I'm grateful for her. I'm still with her. I still live together. So it's important to just kind of have at least one family member, I'd say, constantly in my life.
Yeah. And to kind of have that maternal figure to lean into.
Yeah. And I didn't, when my mom went missing, it was very, very hard, to just so many ideas were being spread and told to me, and listen to
as
this
a kid,
person.
I can't imagine all those things coming at you.
So it's been really difficult to be an adult now, and okay, all of the wires are like this, and you just kind of need to start kind of picking them apart and trying to figure out who's who, what's what, and
and what actually seems like it could have some, substantial possibility, right?
Yes.
So, speaking of, take us back to, I know, like you said, a lot of this is kind of what you've heard now at this point, but what do you remember from 2008 and the night your mom went missing?
I remember being woken up in my room by a cop with a flashlight, and my grandpa, who is now passed, and he, has always been like a father figure to me. So I miss him very much, and it really is, those are the type of people you want to have now that you're getting older.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I'd love to have conversations, with you. So I just remember being woken up by them, and they had told me that the smoke detector had gone off or something, just to make something up real quick. And now looking back
to not scare you.
Yeah. I'm an 8-year-old kid, so of course I didn't really think anything of it, and then I just kind of went back to sleep, and then I woke up and basically asked my dad where my mom was, because I didn't see her in the house. And I didn't know what time it was. I didn't, you know, so
Yeah,
it was
8
just
years old.
yeah. You're just woken up in the middle of the night. It was everything is just very spotty. Like he was looking through things. And I know people have really taken that like to the extreme and said, "What is he looking through?" I really think he was just at our computer desk, like just looking. I don't know what he was looking for. You know, just trying to find something. I don't know. So it's been really difficult with him too, you know, it's like, I genuinely don't really believe he had anything to do with it, but I am struggling with the fact that he didn't really do anything anyways about it in the beginning.
I was gonna ask kind of what your relationship is like with your dad.
I just don't talk to him. I just really choose not to. You know, I'd really like to know who my mom was as a person, but I don't want his point of view from that.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. He's remarried. I haven't met because I don't associate, you know, so it's just been very interesting
to see how things
have, yes, and as I've grown up, you know, it's not like he has tried to attempt to find my mom, to do anything of the sorts, you know, even as
it's not like you out there putting up missing posters and
yes,
making social media posts.
Even like as, you know, sure your relationship might not have been, you know, the best, but like you did have a child together at one point. You guys must have.
There was something.
There was something, you know, and it's just really unfortunate that he couldn't put any of that aside just to be like, okay, let's find the mother of my child, you know, or attempt to, per se. So, you know, I used to hold a lot of anger, and now I just, you know, as an adult, I'm just like, I mean, life is what it is, and now I'm just here to.
You can't worry about what he did.
I can't worry about what everybody else did, you know, that I have to worry about what I can do now and in the future. Basically.
That is very wise and very brave of you, so that's commendable. So from the sounds of it, it was just a very routine night when your mom was at work, and then...
Yeah, my dad had told me that she was staying late because they did have plans the next... I have learned over the years that, you know, the next day she had plans to meet the manager at the McDonald's across the street from Rite Aid that next morning because they were having higher-ups from Rite Aid coming in. So he just said, you know, she was staying late. And like I said, I didn't know what time it was. So
right,
I was
yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
For you, that's just,
like, okay, fine, right. You know, mom's working. Like, she was always working. That was just the way, you know, she was always working, you know.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what time has been like for you since then. You know, when did it all kind of, for you, you've now been taking action.
Yeah.
You've posted to social media, you've been putting up flyers. What was kind of that switch like, okay, I can do something about this?
Lots of therapy.
Yeah.
That is,
power to that.
That's really a main thing is, I started getting back into therapy because when it first happened, you know, they obviously it's something very traumatic and a much higher.
And you had no choice. Yeah, they're like,
here,
go.
No, I really did. So, you know, after that, you know, it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, you know, because then I was kind of like forced into it. But I was like, I'm going on my own want, my own need, and you know, learning to forgive and some of the things that have happened over the years, learning to just, you know, realize that, okay, my mom did love me. She didn't just leave like everybody, you know, there's very, you know, I understand it's always going to be a possibility because we don't know.
Right.
But it's just like such a little tiny possibility in my eyes.
Well, and it's so easy for, you know, people on the outside to say,
yes, you know.
well, it looks like this,
yes.
But that was your mom, you know, you would know if she was going to leave.
Yes, you know, and there are so many cases of where, unfortunately, they have, you know, mothers have left and just up and done, but, you know, there's been other things, I believe.
Right, kind of leading up to that.
Right. You know, my mom had told my grandma, because we all lived in the same house, my mom had told my grandma that morning, you know, when I get home tonight, we'll talk about Ashley's birthday party. I've recently talked to people you know, who saw my mom the week before or that week of, you know, oh, your mom was so excited for your birthday party that she couldn't stop talking about it, you know, like that's what we were talking, that was basically,
Yeah, that was it.
that was anything. Like, oh my God, Ashley's birthday's coming up. So, you know, it's really hard to believe.
Fathom, right?
Yeah.
That she would just walk away from that.
Yes.
So from what you've gathered, I just want a little history about your mom. She was from this area?
She went to school in Fonda,
Oh, okay.
Hill, so she graduated from there in 1992 or 3. She met my dad, you know, I'm assuming after high school.
Yeah.
You know, like she had various fast food jobs, and I was born in 99, and they got married that same year. She just was always working. She just always had several jobs. It was never just one thing with her. It was always...
Especially when you're a mom, that's... you don't really have much choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially if you're unhappy and there's other things that, you know, get into it. So,
So if you don't mind me asking, and if not, it's totally fine, but just interested to know how things kind of progressed. You said, you know, you don't really have a relationship with your dad now, and you're close with his mother, correct? So did that kind of was that like a natural shift after your mom went missing, or?
Wasn't really a natural shift. I mean, something like that happens, it is very, you know, especially if you seriously don't know, and people are, you know, adamant at you, talking, you do know, you did it, you know, and I really think that had just kind of gotten to my dad so much that it just kind of maybe altered his personality, changed who he was as a person, you know.
Traumatic events can do that for sure.
So that's why I credit a lot of things to therapy, because I really used to dislike my dad. It's not that
you just didn't understand.
Yeah, I really didn't. You know, I didn't why he acted this way. Why did he do that? Why did he do this? You know. Now I kind of have more of an understanding, but I'm still at the...
Yeah, you'll never really know, but
Yeah.
at least you kind of there's room for that grace to be like, okay, well, maybe you were grieving, or maybe this, or maybe that, instead of just, why did you do this?
Yes, yeah. So, you know, it was just hard when you have a child and the mother is gone, and, you know, that's what you're left with. And, I mean, luckily we did all live with his mom and stepdad, so... that's who ended up like being like, okay, we need to, you know, figure
pull
this out.
together to raise Ashley.
Child, yeah. So, you know, things transpired, and unfortunately, we ended up kicking him out of the house in when I was in like middle school, because he was just so angry and violent and scary, and you know. We ended up kicking my dad out. There was just one big fight one day. So, you know, that specific memory, that specific day has always been something that I will always remember. You know, I was like 11, maybe, and just seeing my dad so angry for, you know, no reason, and, you know, lashing out, and, you know, something I didn't understand then, as I've grown older and realized that people have emotions, and it's okay to express
and
them.
Sometimes it's hard to regulate.
Yes, so that has been something that's, you know, been something I'm working on myself along the journey. So it's just something, you know, I've been putting into perspective a little more. But there's still just a part of me where I'm just never, ever, ever gonna forgive him for most, if not all, the things he's done, just because you still could have been looking for my mom.
Right, exactly. It's just how things continue to progress.
Yeah. That's just kind of how I feel at this point.
I'm sorry. Also, okay. And I truly do admire your strength and your ability to look at things through this lens. I know I can tell that, like you said, therapy has definitely helped a lot to be able to dissect this whole situation.
And a lot of people just don't really like to talk about mental health, and I'm glad that that's kind of starting to come to the forefront more, and I hope I hope that it just keeps going up, because I think everybody could benefit from going to just talk to somebody about anything. You know, you don't have to.
I think
be
people
super sad,
don't
you
realize.
you know, I mean, obviously, you know,
you've
my
got some
story's
other stuff
I've got
going
some
on,
stuff to talk about there,
right?
But at least,
but everyone could, you know,
Yeah.
to your bad day at work, to your worst memory from when you were 10. You know, there are things to unpack for sure.
Most definitely.
So let's talk about hope or wondering or whatever you'd kind of like to label that chapter.
It's a really short one. It's just been so long. That's kind of my main. It's just been so long. You know, at first people were telling me, oh well, maybe she went somewhere, and you know, in a month or two she's gonna come back, and you know that had just always been in my mind as a kid too, but it just never really made sense to me because of just how I knew my mom, just the connection that you have, you know, that you have
your mom.
with your mother.
Yeah.
So you know, it was just really hard for me to even think that could be a possibility. I really genuinely think, you know, she met somebody that night. You could say one thing wrong and you are now no longer with us, you know, or I'm now kidnapping you, you know, or, you know, so, I mean, there have been, you know, cases where people have just, you know, unfortunately been held captive for years and years and years, and at this point, I just want an answer, you know, I
just want to know what happened.
Yeah, you know, I have hope for closure, but I don't really know what my hope is, because it has just been so long, and you know, you would like to think that she's out there still and, you know, doing something, or, you know, but at the same time, I just, you know, I would hate for bad things to be happening, you know, after all this time.
Well, it seems like there's so many pieces there. Like, yes, you would hope that she is alive and well somewhere, but then what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
And, you know, that would mean that she did leave.
She did leave. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So that would be a whole nother thing to unpack.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? The car obviously stands out to a lot of people.
It does. I think it's very irrelevant, but
that's good to hear though, because it's interesting.
The car is a very big thing, and honestly, it's something we're sitting here talking about my mom, I even forget it's even a part of the story. Because it's a missing person.
Right, exactly. Like, who cares about the burning car?
Yes, I'm like, okay, you know.
Car burned, right. Mom.
But
it comes into play somewhere.
It could, you know. I mean, it obviously came into play somewhere because she was in the car, and we don't have the car or her now. Mm-hmm. So I mean, they still have like
the remnants,
the burnt car. But yes, I remember it overheating. I remember, you know, bits and pieces of like my dad trying to work on it, and my mom maybe being with her at one point, and like her, I don't know,
putting something
something in the car, mm-hmm. like it, so, you know, it's just. I think it's just very unfortunate coincidence, but there could be a little part, you know, I guess, but it's just all the investigating, and it's just like the car just seems like an afterthought. It's just right there in this in this neighborhood. There's people here. Yeah. It didn't burn, you know. It didn't poof, you know. So you know, there was no. It wasn't like hard. It's hard to find an accelerant. So it, you know. Yeah. I definitely get the whole like being interested in it, because my dad was a volunteer firefighter and my mom was also in the ladies auxiliary. So, you know, I just if people knew my dad, he would not be that smart enough to start a fire like that and just leave nothing, you know.
Right. So, well, and that's the thing about it, you know. It was burning for so long and just sitting there. Like, so
yes, so
that seems strange just in itself, not even necessarily suspicious. It's just a strange piece.
Right, and it's really, you know, the officer found the car burning, but, you know, somebody also heard, like, the pops of the gunshots, which, you know, still could be tires, could be
exactly.
something else. You never really know, because I just don't have any answers. So it's just things to ponder, but more things stick out that would make more sense than other things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I know I've revisited this a few times with you, but how do you make it through the day, but like how do you go day to day with this wonder in your mind?
I really don't know. People have
Fair.
No, because that's always been a question that everybody's asked me. Like, oh my God, I would go insane if I didn't have my mom. Like, I would go, you know, crazy.
You figure it out. Unfortunately, well, no, like not to say it like that, but like,
that's literally what I say to people though. I'm like, figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, like, it's different now because I talk to people. Obviously, we're adults. You know, like, oh, I didn't have my mom now. It'd be great. Well, you don't really know what you're gonna do when you're an 8-year-old, and it just happens out of nowhere.
And then it's just your life.
And it's just So it's just, you know, it's like I don't know what I do. I wonder every single day. I look at people on the street all the time. I just wonder everything, any day, all day.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. And you are still able to show up here in bright pink and smile,
Yes.
and it's really admirable, because, you know, I would be one of those people to say to you and sound foolish, like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do, but I've also been through situations where it's like, I don't know how I would have done this, but I
just
did.
have to do it.
So,
you know, like, life gives you lemons.
and here we are. So, is there anything you think we didn't touch on that you want to bring to light? Actually, I just thought of one more question.
Okay.
Your TikToks.
Yeah.
So, I know you kind of you want to do something, you want to get your mom's name out there, but what was the, like, aha moment that said, okay, I'm going to go to social media and show people what I'm doing?
So I kind of tried Facebook groups. They're just annoying to monitor, if I have to be completely honest with you.
And on top of it all the time.
If you are also trying to have a life outside of advocating
for your missing person,
it's very hard and time consuming and traumatic to have to constantly
relive every
and
moment,
go through and keep your body in such a state all the time. So, you know, I don't know, I had just seen that TikTok was kind of the thing, and I was like, I really don't know what I'm doing, and I still don't know what I'm doing, so it's just kind of like, you know,
just putting it out there.
Yeah, you know, I've been answering questions, you know, people ask, but, you know, at the same time, it's just kind of like, I wanted to make it for me personally, like, as an outlet, too, but
like
also,
doing something.
Yeah, but also, you know, hey, my mom is missing at the same time, you know, it's kind of like a mental health outlet, per se, you know, because there's just so much going on in the world, and everybody just needs to know that, you know, someday, somehow, it's gonna be okay. Yeah. It might take a while, it might take a long time, you know, I still don't think it's okay every day, but, you know, I get through the days, you know, so. I'm sorry.
We're so close. But yeah, that's just, I really do admire your strength, and you know, I think even just little things like that, like, yes, Johnstown is a small place, but someone may have been there in 2008 that moved states and states away, and oh my God, they see that TikTok, and it's just like,
yes,
I remember, you know, even if it's just something so small, like, it makes a difference.
It just happened the other day at work. I have a picture of my mom in the car, and, you know, it's not something I'm publicly like, hey, nice to meet you.
Look at my mom.
My mom's missing, you know, like, cause she was like, oh my God, I remember her. I was like, yeah, that's my mom. You know, she's like, oh my, so, you know, it's just the whole thing, you know, so it's like people remember.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, oh my God, she's still missing. Like, yeah.
Well, and even though there's, you know, I talk about this with some of the experts that I interview and some of the families of missing people, that even though there is this like huge public interest now in all of these cold cases and true
Right.
crime dramas and documentaries and things of the like, I think there's also just such a like compassionate community that
Yeah.
cares about these people that they don't even know, you know, like
Yeah.
people can hear about your mom and be like, oh my god, like I'm so sorry she's missing.